Hey, it's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. I wanted to bring you our Greater Denver Metro update this month. And there's lots going on here and lots to read into because, as most of you know, the market is, well, it's a little strange compared to where we were a year ago. Here you are, average sales prices are showing down 2.3%. Now, don't let that make you think that the prices of homes are actually depreciating in the Denver metro market, because that is definitely not the case. But you can really see just the composition of sales is changing. We're not at all in a market like we were last year. I mean, we are having a lot of changes and a lot of differences here. Our median's still at 600,000. Things are still really, really good, better than they really ever been, except for last spring. So here's kind of another anomaly, right? We're looking at the average sales price of our condo townhouses. So this is all the attached dwellings in the marketplace. We're really right in line with where we were a year ago for averages. Medians are a little bit lower, but a lot of people are being pushed from maybe that detached product into an attached product, and that's adding a little bit of fuel to that market. So kind of put that in for some perspective, price per square foot across all of Greater Denver Metro is down 7.5%. We were pushing $300 a square foot last year around this time, and things were kind of out of control. I mean, if you remember right, bidding wars all over the place, right? So February was a really tough month for buyers out there. Sellers definitely raked a bunch of people over the coals and made a lot of money. But the other side of that is, we saw 20% appreciation in this market from January through April, maybe May. And then we had a little bit of a depreciation, which you can see in the market every month after that. But it didn't actually seem to affect the market nearly as much as that 20% increase. So we did see some positive growth. We really saw some positive growth. I think if you look at this compared to maybe the 2021 number, or even back to 2020, 2019, you've seen a ton of really healthy growth in the price of real estate in this market. We definitely are going to need to read into this more, but I wanted to give you the most important part, those talking points you're going to need to work with your sellers and your buyers. So here we are, new listings on the right-hand side of this graph is down minus 20%. Now, it's interesting because Denver Metro in 2019 did some really interesting things where it was vibrant, lots of listings, interest rates were higher, inventory really started to stack up. You can see it, that green line on the graph in the active listings. The difference this time around is we have a supply shortage, which we didn't have in 2019, and we have less appetite from our sellers. Back then, we had high appetite from our sellers, higher appetite from buyers, just not quite as much. So we saw that inventory rise. Expect this year, even though the active units went down from January to February, to probably pick up in a steady pace with what we saw last year, or at least those 2019 numbers where every month we won't be selling everything that's on the market. But it's been an interesting beginning of the year. As interest rates are up to nearly 7% right now, that is going to create a lot less buyer demand, which is going to allow for new listings to start stacking up. Now, if we're off 20% every month and then we don't go under contract on as much, it may stay nominal, right? But if people come to market and list listings like they would have in the past because they're excited to sell, they're excited to trade out, they're excited to move and do different things, and that's a whole different story. But at the way we're trending and what we're seeing right now is if we're down about 20% in new listings, you can see here in the demand side, the total number of pendings, we're only down 10%. So we actually are in a listing shortage a little bit, right? 3,500 homes went under contract last month. We're not quite to even those 2019 numbers, but don't fear, this is more like 2018. So this is exactly like history repeating itself, right? Lots of buyer demand out there. There's 0.9 months of inventory out there in the market. So that's a good sign because there's finally some inventory to actually be able to transact. Last year at this time, excuse me. Last year at this time, we only had 0.4 months of inventory. So it shows that we're up 125%. That seems like really scary, but it's not actually scary because we're finally into, yes, we're in a seller's market, but we're in a really reasonable market to at least get some transactions done. We're going to have the volume we need in order to meet that buyer demand. Now, are we going to have enough buyer demand to meet the seller needs? Probably not. So you're going to see inventory start to rise. Get to market early if you're a seller, right? That's exactly what this shows. This is where we are to kind of show the change from last year to this year. The average days MLS is how long does a property sit on the market, right? Active to under contract time, 47 days. That's a month and a half. We had 45 days last month. You normally don't see this rise too much from a January to a February, but it was a really interesting February, right? Higher interest rates, really cold weather, lots of different things that kind of factor into buyer behavior. But expect that that is going to trend down all the way through that May, June timeframe and then trend back up. Are we going to be anywhere near where we were last peak season? No, we definitely will not get down to 9 days. But if we end up in that 20 to 30 day range, don't be surprised, right? This is just normal seasonality taking place. Buyers come to market just like sellers in the springtime. And it's just a slow start to a year. So nothing to be concerned about there. We do, in fact, though, have 98.9%, so almost 99% listed sale price, really similar to 2019, kind of getting back to those pre-pandemic norms. And, we definitely are away from those anomaly years that we saw in 2021 and 2022 for those big spring buyer seasons where you're going to see huge over asking price offers, right? You might see a little bit here and there in little pockets, but you definitely are not going to see those $100,000 over asking price. People are really looking at the cost of money and deciding whether or not they're even going to enter the marketplace, which is why those days in MLS are so much higher. But if it's a good product and it's done right, it definitely is selling, and it's selling for close to asking price. So it's very important to price those homes correctly going into this season. If you have any questions, I'm Anthony at Land Title. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. See you next time.